Welcome in, everybody. NFL Week 13 Thursday football show right here on sportsbookreview.com. Sharpen those pencils. We're ready to get after it. No Thursday night football game, which leaves us a little bit extra time to get prepared for Sunday NFL action. I'm Donnie Seymour. He's Kyle Purviance, and we got 1 hour here to break down these football games. A lot of information in and out. The one thing is we do have injury reports here, Kyle, in the NFL. But we also have a man playing injured right now, but says, you know what? Good people want this NFL show, and he's going to give it to you. Kyle, fighting it off over there for you people in the chat box. We thank you, Kyle.
That's right. That's right. Just for everyone there. And, hey, it's Week 13, man. We can't mess around. It's fantasy football playoff positioning. You know, it's we got a lot of moving parts. We got Tuesday games and double headers on Monday. So we got to be ready. Sick or not, it doesn't matter. We're rocking and rolling. I'm excited for Week 13.
Yeah, we should have a pretty good show here to go over some ins and outs and a lot of information coming out because you guys know we come on Tuesday, set the table for the week, come on Thursday, as we always use the moniker, sharpen our pencils to try to move forward and make sure we can get that proper information because, again, the show leads up. It makes sense what we do. Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, then we're ready to go, and we do it all over again with our Monday Night Football betting show to have some fun and put that nice bow in the week. But we got a lot of information to go through. Looks about maybe 1 o'clock games on Sunday, some nice 4 o'clock games. So the NFL didn't leave us high and dry with like 2 NFL games on a Sunday afternoon. Feels like they probably should have with my Philadelphia Eagles here, Kyle, at 4:25 in a primetime slot versus the Green Bay Packers. Don't know how that was actually deserved, but is what it is. 75,400 people have hit that subscribe button for us right here on YouTube. We do thank you guys for that so much. You come in the chat box, you say hello, leave a mark in there if you have any questions. If you want to rip me and Kyle, certainly fine to do. But also we love the sharing of information. It's what makes us come on the air and talk NFL action right here. Turn that notification bell on when we go live each and every time here. You can come in the chat box and say hello. We're going to get it started right off the bat here, Kyle. 451, 452. We talked on Tuesday about this game, the Detroit Lions and the Chicago Bears. Matthew Stafford lines up at quarterback. The question, though, is not Matthew Stafford, who is banged up with a thumb injury, but who he's going to get to the starting gate with. We've been waiting on Kenny Golladay. We'll see about some more information today. Doesn't look like he's too promising to start on Sunday. Danny Amendola getting in some limited work. DeAndre Swift waiting for him to come back, going on the road to play Chicago. Fired their general manager, fired their head coach. Who is left on Detroit to put up a fight that says, hey, let's give a nice little lasting try here on the road. Dome team going outdoors. I said, Kyle, on Tuesday, I like the Detroit Lions if they got their players back. Doesn't look like their players are coming back. Am I going to be riding on Maserati Mitch this Sunday? Looks like it.
I think I am too. And I think we both like Detroit on Tuesday. But now when you look at the practice report today for the Lions, it's not encouraging. You know, no Golladay, DeAndre Swift still not practicing on a Thursday from that concussion. That's never a good sign. And then you just look at the two defenses, really. So you got, you know, pretty anemic offenses all the way around, especially if Golladay and Swift miss. The Bears, of course, are anemic. But then you just look at the defense. Chicago's defense is exponentially better than that Detroit defense. So even against a bad offense in Chicago should be able to put up points. They're at home. I don't trust Stafford much on the road anyway, so I think I'm with you. I think I got to take the Bears -3. I don't feel great about it. I'll tell you that. I don't feel fantastic about taking Mitchell Trubisky as a favorite. It's absolutely disgusting to me. But Lions just way too limited this week. I like Chicago -3. Now, if for some reason Golladay and Swift become active, my mind could change on Sunday, but right now it's not trending in that direction.
Yeah, Trufant's going to be down. We'll see if Jeff Okudah makes it to the starting line. But when you take a look, I mean, Detroit is a bottom 5 defense in the NFL. When we take a look at team totals, you guys know I love to look at that. It's not really going to be all that bad weather. It'll be cold in Chicago, but not a ton of wind, no precipitation in the air. You saw last week Mitchell Trubisky, so maddening to watch here because it comes out in the first part of the game and it was absolutely horrendous. You get down 3 touchdowns, you put a drive together, hooray. And then you don't do anything, and next thing you know, you're down 4 touchdowns. The same thing we talked about on Tuesday. You can't do that and win. You can do that, mess around in blowout games. Say, hey, we were effective in moving the football. We're asking them to win a game, but the one team that Mitchell Trubisky seems to have some success with over his few years in the NFL is the Detroit Lions because they're awful. They are absolutely awful on defense. And now you throw in Matthew Stafford. The question is how much is the pressing going to be? Because when you take a look at a total in this game, if you're trying to hit it, because the favorite -3, which means you basically just have to win the football game. You should get that cover. Opens up at 45. Now we're seeing 44.5. And usually when you see Detroit, it usually lends itself to be a total over type of game. But time and time again, and I like to buy low on these teams, and you're buying extremely low on the Bears. This seems like they haven't won a game since 1999. They should be able to pick up the victory here, but is this one of those games where Detroit can't put up enough of a fight on offense and the Chicago Bears say, hey, Mitch, just don't lose it. Let's run the football. If it's 10-7 in the third quarter, we have a lead, we still won't press the issue because it's fairly cheap at 23.5 the price for the Bears to go over 24 on a horrendous Detroit defense. I'm just not there yet, but I'm leaning in that direction of the over and also taking the Chicago Bears. But how many times do we see it, Kyle? Mitch, what are you doing with that throw? And that kills your totals.
Exactly. That's what makes you so nervous. And again, you're just nervous too. We saw this Detroit offense against a bad Houston defense on Thanksgiving without Golladay and they didn't, I know they got a couple rushing touchdowns out of AP sort of early in that game, but that team did not look, that offense did not look good against a bad Houston defense. And people are right in the chat box. Mitchell Trubisky tends to play well against the Lions. We saw it week 1. They should have lost that game. Swift dropped that ball in the end zone. So I don't think you're crazy taking the over total here. I don't know that that Detroit can stop anyone. And now with another week to get healthy for David Montgomery, Detroit's the worst run defense in the entire league. That's going to make things even easier. I don't know who's going to cover Allen Robinson. None of their corners, including their first-round pick Okudah, are any good at all. We have seen some teams perform well in their first game with an interim coach. Darren Bevel's taken over. I haven't seen anything out of the Lions offense that makes me think he's going to be some sort of special coach here, but I think you're right. I think like a 28-20 type game does make some sense here. I could see the Lions scoring some points late, but I think it's going to be hard for them to stop any offense. I like the Bears. And I'm probably with you. I'm probably leaning the over just barely. It makes me kind of nervous, though. I'm nervous.
Yeah, early in the week, Pinnacle opened up 4.5. Now we're seeing those threes across the board. Seems like a fair price in this one. But also at the same time, if you could use a crystal ball and just say, I get competent quarterback play, the Chicago Bears should have an easy victory against the Detroit Lions. But again, it goes back to we're gamblers, and you're putting your money into a guy that's not an NFL quarterback. So if you wind up with 27 points, you can say, see, I told you Detroit's bad. Mitch had, plenty of time to throw, made some decent passes. But then again, you could see 20-17 Detroit and say, Jesus, I put my money on Trubisky. I should have known better. The guy is horrendous. And a lot of people with that philosophy in the NFL, Kyle, just give me the better quarterback and I'll let the chips fall. You're not getting the better quarterback in Mitchell Trubisky. But then again, does Stafford have any weapons at all that can make him a competent quarterback in this game? It's a tough one. But again, changing over from Tuesday saying, hey, I think Detroit might be the play, to now Thursday, maybe on Sunday be switching back and say, hey, Kyle, guess what? Stafford's got all his weapons in this one. I'm not taking Mitchell Trubisky as a favorite, and that certainly could happen. Welcome into the chat box. The dudes in here, Paul Wall, Jimmy Legs, Justin Grammer, Akbar, Sean, David. Let's get it busy. Next game, we'll talk about 453, 454, Cincinnati and Miami. Hey, we're not talking about 10 bell games here right off the bat, but we do break it down. We are gamblers. Try to find the value with this. You know me, Kyle. I'm an old school type of guy. And Brian Flores, I had been in his corner for the past year and a half. What a fabulous job he's done. Love the fact that they're winning football games now. They are supposed to win. Case in point, last week against the New York Jets. Fitzpatrick goes in. Competent performance by the Dolphins. Easy victory over the New York Jets. Now they go up against Cincinnati, who to me, honestly, without Joe Burrow, equally as poor now as the New York Jets. And they showed up last week with zero offense against the New York Giants. Somehow put out a cover against the Giants, but I guess that's what happens when the other team loses their quarterback in mid-game as opposed to yourself. Allen gave me nothing last week, but here's the issue I'm having. Miami's not a big strike offense, Kyle, we can agree on. Watching the offense last week, if you push the Dolphins and Ryan Fitzpatrick, he goes boom or bust, which is fantastic for total backers. You see him throwing Devontae Parker open last week. You see him throwing jump balls to Gesicki in the end zone. That's how that offense survives. But if you don't get any pushback like Sam Darnold and the Jets gave you last week, that might be the same case with Cincinnati. That's a tall task. You're looking at not 3.5, 4.5, 6.5, not 7.5. You're looking at 11.5 across the board with an over-under of 42.5. My question to you, Kyle, is not so much what are you getting out of the Dolphins, because Brian Flores is saying, hey, we really want to start Tua Tagovailoa. He's not healthy. Odds on, it's going to be Ryan Fitzpatrick this week, and that's the smart move for that organization. If the kid's banged up, he's not been playing great football when he was in there. Win the game with Fitzpatrick, get in the playoffs, and if you want, pull one of those things we laughed at the other day, Kyle, with the Buffalo Bills, right, where you say, we're just going to take Doug Flutie out here and, start another quarterback, and you're off down the road messing around. That's for a later time. 11.5 seems like too much points for me in this game. It really does.
Yeah, that's a big number to take the Dolphins as favorites, and I get it. And especially if Ryan Fitzpatrick plays, I feel better about it. You feel much better about that offense, and they can score. Like Tua just isn't. I like Tua, like we said on Tuesday. I like Tua. I think he's going to be good, but he's not there yet. They're still. You can just see the offense is limited when you go back and watch the games with him as their quarterback. Outside of a few exciting plays in that Arizona game, they're really limited when he's in at quarterback. Fitzpatrick opens it up a lot more. Obviously, you're not going to get anything out of
Frozen.
Yeah. Oh.
We back? We're here. There we go.
Back. Sorry about that. Yeah. Sorry about that. So I don't know exactly where we left off, but the offense is limited without Fitzpatrick when it's Tua. It's just not the same, not as explosive. So if you are taking Miami, maybe you want to wait and 100% make sure it's going to be Fitzpatrick. I know Flores is saying it's going to be a game time call. I tend to think you're right that it's going to be Fitzpatrick because he keeps saying, like we talked about before the show, he needs to be 100% healthy. Well, it's obvious that he's not. So you'll probably see Fitzpatrick. I would lean Miami. This one has stay away written all over it. Cincinnati, they covered because they had a 103-yard kick return for a touchdown as well. They're channeling their inner Stanford Jennings from 89, So the plays of Dolphins, the Bengals aren't going to offer anything on offense, but I will feel a lot better about it if it's indeed Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, because you look at Miami last week going into play the New York Jets, they had absolutely nothing at running back. And those running backs tried to give that game away time and time ahead with fumbles in the third quarter on back-to-back drives. But you played the Jets, and they were so inept they couldn't do anything with it. So if that was a competent football team, you're probably going to lose that one. Now you get Myles Gaskin back in practice. Ahmed also looks like he might be able to make a return. So some more weapons back into the fold. But it comes with the territory here. If you know Miami coming to this football game, Kyle, just has to play good defense. That doesn't mean they're going to dial it up on offense because teams come in with game plans similar to what you saw yesterday with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers go into that football game and go, let's try to not make that big error because this team really can't do anything. As you notice, the Steelers just didn't come in and say, you know what, let's go 5-wide air attack, really press the issue and see if we can hit the 35-point number. They knew they didn't need that and press because the opposite end of that would be turnovers and injuries and whatnot. Same thing might go into this game. So I look at that 11.5 where everybody's loaded up, Cincinnati stinks. You still have to look at Miami from an offensive perspective. They're a horrendous football team, and even worse if Tua Tagovailoa starts. If Fitzpatrick starts, you're going to get an honest effort. But again, if you have that big lead, are you really going to stretch it? And how many times, just like yesterday, we see, boy, the Ravens are horrible out here, Kyle. There's no way they can score. And a simple 10-yard pass turns into a 75-yard touchdown, and you end up getting the cover. That happens in the NFL. That could happen in this one, but not a real exciting game overall to look at. Another interesting game we'll talk about and keep it in the AFC. That's going to be the AFC South. 455, 456, Indianapolis and Houston. About a week and a half ago, you might have said, yo, Indianapolis, upset alert city here. That offense is humming for the Houston Texans. But a couple weeks later, Kyle, we're down 3 of our top 4 wide receivers and asking Deshaun Watson to go out and win this game all by himself. Now, last week when we take a look at Indianapolis, they didn't play all that well, and they got rocked by the Titans. Now you go on the road against not much on defense. How much do they have on offense for the Texans? We'll see. But it gets down to my simple moniker. If you want points, which how bad Indianapolis played last week, Kyle, still hit the bell for 26 points, even though the defense was MIA without half of their front line. Now you go up against here at Houston. Indianapolis is going to be able to score points. The hard part is that 51 looked awesome when you had Will Fuller and you still had a healthy front line of wide receivers. Now it's going to take a step back and say, I'm probably more likely to get involved in Indianapolis in this game. But are you saying, hey, look, Houston, playing hard for Romeo Crennel, but you need weapons to beat good football teams? I just don't see Houston winning this football game, so it's going to be Indianapolis for me.
Yeah, I actually think this line is too low. I'm really surprised it's only 3.5. I really am. And I'm glad it hasn't shot up the board yet. I made a bet early in the week on the 3, and that's a risky game to play, especially nowadays. We talked about it quite frequently. It's nerve-wracking because you don't know with all the COVID stuff happening, and we see it going all over the place to bet early. But, man, you look at this line. Houston, you mentioned it now, no Will Fuller. So the receivers are now going to be Brandon Cooks and Kiki QT. And when you go back and you watch Houston's offense, they struggle to run the football. You're not going to be running against Indianapolis. Then they get themselves in these 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6 situations, and they just can't protect Deshaun Watson well enough to give him time to complete that play. So unless it's some miracle play by Watson, it's usually some, dart into the ground or an overthrown ball. They're really inefficient on 3rd down. I just don't see the path to victory for Houston. Nice conditions indoors for Phillip Rivers. I suppose one concern is Anthony Costanzo, their left tackle. Looks like he's going to miss some time. But again, it's Houston. Are we really that worried about the J.J. Watts of the world anymore? Not really. I got to take the Colts. I think they win this game pretty easily. I think the line's too low here. It makes a lot of sense that the public is on Indianapolis. I think it's a nice, easy cover this week.
It should be, because, again, this game completely changes when you give Deshaun Watson, option. It's amazing when you take a look at this Houston football team, what could have been. Could have a nice little DeAndre Hopkins at wide receiver and Will Fuller again. I remember last year betting so many Houston games, specifically team total, not because they were a good football team, but when I used to call it the 4-wheel motion, when they had their 4 wide receivers healthy, it was like, who are you going to cover? And just give Deshaun Watson a little bit of time. They're going to score points, and they did. Same thing this year. Now you're stripping away weapons, and you're still keeping around that same, like, hey, because, the model guys out here don't really account for injuries on offense. So, hey, offense runs the way the offense runs, which is nonsense when you peel back the layers of the actual guys that can get downfield. Because when you take speed away, which now you're doing with Houston, it's going to condense that field. And you're also talking about, they're not really a running football team on the ground. You can't just make up a running game as you go and say, hey, let's just run the ball this week, when that's not what you're used to doing. The over-under 51 still is interesting, Kyle, because I do think Indianapolis will be able to get into the high 20s, but it's going to take a Herculean effort by Deshaun Watson to factor into this game. Like, if we're talking on, next Monday during the Monday Night Football show, like, do you believe Houston went out and won again without any wide receivers against an Indianapolis team trying to fight for a division and get into the playoffs? Wouldn't you be shocked by that?
Oh, 100%. And I would be shocked if they get into the 20s, to be completely honest. I just think that Colts defense, they're going to have all their players. I believe Buckner will be back this week. I'll have to double check that. But from what I understand, DeForest Buckner and all of them are off the COVID reserve list now. So now you're getting a full Indianapolis defense. Remember, they got torched last week because they didn't have their best defensive lineman. So we knew that Derrick Henry was going to feast on them. We've seen Derrick Henry do that, especially when teams are weak up front. That's not the case this week. Houston can't run the football. Oh, by the way, the Colts are really good in the secondary, and now Houston doesn't have by far their best wide receiver in Will Fuller. So, like a 28-10 type of game, 28-17 makes a lot of sense. I'm actually leaning the under here. I don't trust that Houston offense. I just don't know. Again, you said it. It would take an absolute Herculean effort out of Deshaun Watson for them to win this game. I don't see it happening. I think the Colts do enough to win. Better offense, better defense, better coaching staff, obviously. Give me the Colts.
Yeah, Lit Picks in the chat box says no Fuller. I'm all over the Colts -2.5, and I do agree with that. Sean MCK, Colts Texans under 51. Are the Texans going to get into the mid-20s? Normally, I would say yes, because you have perfect conditions and fully healthy team. That's just not the case anymore. And when you strip down layers, it affects your quarterback. You can't just make miracles out there happen without any miracle makers at wide receiver. And that's going to be the case this week. We'll see where that line ends up, because an early line at SBRodds.com came up at 2.5 beginning of the week. Now we're seeing 3s, 3.5s across the board. We'll see where that ends up. But I got to be hard pressed to believe that you're going to see Houston money late in the week, unless something pops up with COVID that's really going to damage Indianapolis. Getting back one of their running backs, you're right. Also their front line. And even if they didn't get back the majority of the front line, the reason why the Tennessee Titans can abuse that is because they're a power running football team with one of the best backs in the NFL. Not the case here with Houston. But there is something to be said about Romeo Crennel getting that team fired up to at least play some decent football. They should be able to do it. Here's one I wanted to talk about, because, again, we're not talking about 10 bell games, as I like to say, 5-star. I can't wait to sit down and watch this game. But there are some elements that true handicappers like to break down and say, you know what, I get interested. Because when I take a look at overs or team totals or trying to bet in the football game, I like to buy low. And I got to tell you, last week, a missed opportunity. We came on the air on just about every show, Monday, Thursday, and Sunday, and laughed at the Cleveland Browns defense. But the issue I was having is, do I want to step into these waters, Kyle, with Mike Glennon as my quarterback, who played okay football in the NFL? He started before. He's not going to be starstruck, but he's 30, hasn't played in a while. And you say, I'm down 2 wide receivers, no Connolly last week and no DJ Chark. Laviska Shenault did come back. But there's a lot to be said about Doug Marrone. That team stinks, and they're still operating on offense efficiently with basically a third-string quarterback. Mike Glennon looked like he belonged in the NFL. Yeah. Strong in the pocket, Kyle, accurate arm, live arm. And again, as we said, down 2 started their top 2 of 3 wide receivers. He moved that football efficiently and was a 2-point conversion away from tying it up late, which is where I like to digress, Kyle. There was a play in the third quarter where the Jacksonville Jaguars took the lead 19-17. They made an extra point to go up 20-17, and there was an offsides penalty on the special teams on the defense that they took the points off from the board, went for 2, didn't get it. And at the end of the football game, Kyle, what do we need? A 2-point conversion. Coaches, don't chase points when you don't need to chase points. It came back to bite then. But getting back to the game itself, looks like we might be getting Chark back this week from a rib injury. Who knows I didn't see if Connolly was placed on IR, but I'm assuming if he's not, maybe a chance to get him back this week as well when we check some practice reports later in the week. Shenault looked okay last week going through, that hamstring injury that he was struggling with. Running game is certainly finding a gem in the 4th or 5th round. They look like a competent offense going up against a really porous defense with Minnesota. Now, from Minnesota's perspective, 10s across the board, 52.5 as a total. I'm thinking over in this game because the one thing we know out of Minnesota, even down Thielen last week, put up 28 points. He's back activated off the COVID list. I think we get a lot of points in this game. I'm actually liking with the Jacksonville-led Mike Glennons over 52. Wow.
Yeah, I rewatched this game while I was watching the Pittsburgh-Baltimore game yesterday. I had it on the split screen, the Jacksonville-Cleveland game. Mike Glennon did not look bad. In fact, I'm looking at Mike Glennon this week at 4,800 on DraftKings as well, and I am my pain is already there. Like, I'm telling you, this Minnesota secondary is dreadful. Dantzler and Boyd and Holton Hill and the rest of this, they're terrible. Now you're getting DJ Chark back. I just went and took a look. Looks like Chris Conley was limited in practice yesterday, so he's got a shot.
He's on his way. Yep.
So he's certainly got a shot to play there. Did we freeze again?
No, I think we're having fun here.
We're looking at some Matrix stuff here.
I love it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I love all this stuff here. Okay, as long as we're still rocking and rolling.
Temperature's rising over there for you, seeing things.
Oh man, I'll tell you what. But Jacksonville, I kind of like what I saw out of the offense, and I think that the Minnesota defense they're going to face this week is any better than the Cleveland defense looked last week. So I actually like Jacksonville to cover in this game. Call me crazy, but I'm on the Mike Glennon hype train this week. I do think the Vikings win this game. They're certainly a better team, but I can't take Kirk Cousins as a double-digit favorite. I can't take that defense as a double-digit favorite. I think we get an honest output out of the Jacksonville offense, and I think they cover. And I'm with you. I think they go over the points as well. I'm feeling good about Jacksonville covering this week.
And also the question with Minnesota is you saw last week Dalvin Cook get banged up a little bit. The talk around Minnesota it's kind of conflicting because Dalvin Cook's saying, leave me alone. You don't ask, Derrick Henry if he's banged up during the season. You got some guy saying he's beat up. He says he's not. Other coaches say differently. They're going to cap his practice reps in practice, if that makes sense, and see if they can get him as fresh as possible for the weekend. But somebody in the chat box said, the Vikings will score every play, Ryan Johnson, or score every drive. I think you're right on that. We should be able to get some points in here because as long as Jacksonville battles back, which I do think they can with some added force at wide receiver, we should be in for some points in this one. But again, it is hard to take Jacksonville. But when you see some of the games they play in, yeah, they get beat up, but they do rise to the occasion every once in a while, really put up a good fight against teams they absolutely shouldn't be. And just seeing Mike Glennon as a competent quarterback should give Jacksonville backers a little bit extra edge. And also, guys, if you notice, I'm trying to talk a little bit more than usual, if that's even possible. Trying to take one for the team. We're trying to save that energy for Kyle to get all the way through this show and have some fun. So pardon me, Kyle, for talking so much for. There you go.
No, let's keep moving here. I appreciate you, brother. I do.
Let's keep moving down the list. 461, 462, the Las Vegas Raiders. And I think we can say last week, if you were, teasing, I don't know why you would tease the game with a 3-point line, but money line parlay, throw the Raiders in a parlay. They should win. The funny fact about this is that Atlanta is actually playing really good football outside of going up against New Orleans, who's a top 5 team in the NFL with a top 5 defense where they didn't look that good. They've really been playing hard under Raheem Morris, their interim head coach in this one. Now they're going to take on it's not even talent at this point for the Jets. It's just called ineptness. Like, I'm going to talk about my Philadelphia Eagles a little bit later in the show. But if you're taking the Jets, like, the normal gambler, this is like that Cleveland Browns effect, Kyle, we had a couple years ago, where they were so bad, but they're sharp, just keep taking them. I'm looking at the Jets now. It's pretty apparent that I don't want to dip into those waters anymore if I was looking to take the Jets, because they're waiting on Jacksonville. If somehow Jacksonville can spring a victory against, let's say, the Minnesota Vikings this week and the Jets lose, now they have the 2-game cushion. So the organization turns over from, don't you guys dare win a football game, to blow this number 1 quarterback, that we're going to have Trevor Lawrence, a once in every 25-year player, to, hey, we have a 2-game cushion. Let's not be embarrassed and always get brought up in a Jeopardy question that says which teams went 0-16 in the NFL. They'll try to avoid it. But what I saw last week, and I even had to go back and watching the coaching tape just to get an extra feel, there's no reason last week, because the Dolphins have an okay defense. You had 3 healthy wide receivers, a decent offensive line, Sam Darnold healthy, and the Jets sending out signals like, now that I got my guys back, I'm going to see what I can do on offense. The game plan was horrendous, and I expect that to be this week as well. But here's the funny part about betting into the NFL. Opens at 7.5, Kyle. I'm seeing 9.5s at some outlets across the board. Over-under is 47. The Jets' offense doesn't even try to score. So why would I be looking in this game to go over 47? But Donnie, you saw a couple weeks ago, Joe Flacco, they put up some points. Watch the way the Jets operate. 1st and 10, running Frank Gore up the middle for 1 yard. 2nd and 9, running Frank Gore off tackle for a yard. Then running some nonsense play where nobody blocks. Yeah. Nothing is going right for the Jets. I don't want my money anywhere near it. And a team that got beat by over 40 points last week is almost favored by double digits here, Kyle.
I don't know what the hell to do with this game, because I don't think the Raiders are as good as their record. We saw that last week. I mean, you got beat by, like you said, almost 40 points by the Falcons. And look, I know the Falcons are playing better since Raheem Morris took over, but good Lord, we saw that team put up 9 points the week before. So here's the problem with the Raiders as well. Nelson Aguilar, Josh Jacobs both look banged up with ankle injuries. Josh Jacobs is no lock to play this week. He left that game and he has yet to practice this week. Yep. That's a big loss for them. Now, luckily for them, it's the worst, one of the worst secondaries in the league with the Jets. They're banged up across the board. And, what's his name? Arthur Maulay and Lamar X Jackson. And, oh, good Lord, it's just a who's who of bad corners. So you got to like the Raiders to win this game, obviously. The Jets have no desire to win a football game. They want Trevor Lawrence. Hopefully they get rid of Adam Gase in the offseason, too. I don't understand what's going on there, because they don't even look competent in losing. You're right. I mean, aside from that one game against New England on Monday night, they really don't look competent at all whatsoever. Then you got the Raiders. Can I take the Raiders as 9-point favorites? Absolutely not. Do I think the Raiders win the game? Yes. That total, this is a complete stay-away game for me. But if I had to pick a side, it's obviously not the Jets, it's the Raiders. But I'd be very, very nervous about that 8.5 or 9 points.
Do you know what? Because and I guess you have to wipe the memory clear of what took place the week before. Because if the roles were reversed, Kyle, and the Vegas Raiders went on the road and doused Atlanta, you'd have a different mindset in this game. But we do know in the NFL, week to week, it's so different with the ebbs and the flows. When you talk about what Las Vegas wants to do and what they can do, like Miami was pushing the football a little bit, 13 points in the first half. Saw the Jets couldn't even compete with them. Come out in the second half, no points in the third quarter. But again, the Jets couldn't score any points. So the Dolphins then go back into a shell and say, well, let's hand it off. Let's show short passes. If we score, great. But we're not going to go into, panic mode until the Jets try to get within a score of us. I had the same feeling in this game when I take a look at the 47, because it's not the Raiders that I'm worrying about, because I do think last week is a little bit of an anomaly. If you engage, they're getting some guys healthy back on the offensive line. Even if Jacobs doesn't play, we know the way, like you said, the way to attack the Jets have an athletic front seven and really pressure you. But outside of that, their back four, outside of Marcus May, is ridiculously bad. Now you have speed on the Raiders with a decent quarterback that can connect. Because the one thing we do know, Ryan Fitzpatrick doesn't have the biggest arm. He's more of, if it's one-on-one, I'll throw you open, I'll put the ball in the right spot, make a catch. We know Carr can extend the field, and they have players that can actually do that and extend the field. But my only issue is, if this game is 14-3 in the Meadowlands and it's a little bit chilly in the afternoon, the Jets have packed it in. They're looking at a scoreboard at 1 o'clock going, all right, Jacksonville's still within 2 scores. So, guys, let's slow it down. Let's make sure we lose this until that it's official that Jacksonville, loses the game or wins the football game. Yeah. I don't want my money anywhere near the Jets. And the 47, to me, is shockingly high. Yeah. I just don't see it out of the Jets with Sam Darnold at quarterback. I'd almost rather have Flacco at this point, which is crazy.
Yeah, you'd rather have Flacco. And just to answer our boy Sean out there in Australia, yes, I actually do think Devontae Booker is fine. Even if Jacobs plays, he'll probably be.
He's fine. He's been good. Booker's been good.
Yeah, Booker's been good. He's going to get some pass catching. So especially if it's a PPR league, absolutely, I think Devontae Booker is an excellent streaming option this week at running back. But you're right. Are the Jets going to get to, 14 points, even against a bad Raiders defense? Probably not. Like, we haven't seen any indication that they are competent at all whatsoever. Now it looks like Rashad Perriman's a little bit banged up for the Jets, so that's their speed guy who they seem to like going to lately. Did he practice? He was limited yesterday, so he'll probably play, but I don't know. The Jets are a trash can. I would take the under. I guess that's probably the best bet on this game. Taking the Raiders by more than a touchdown makes me very, very nervous. Someone's right in the chat. I like them a lot better as underdogs, not as favorites. We found that out last week. They were road favorites and got pummeled. I mean, it's hard to trust either of these teams, but certainly can't trust the Jets. So you got to take the Raiders, and I think the under is the right call. Unless the Raiders score 45 points, I don't see the over happening here.
Because, it was a bad game for the Raiders last week, but you do have semblances of where John Gruden can pull the right strings in games like this. When you came into the Cleveland game, let's get behind our big offensive line. Let's run the football with our running backs and see what happens. And it was the way to play the Cleveland Browns and picked up a victory over them on the road. I just see as they come in here where that coaching staff sees the Jets. A, we know the Jets don't want to win. And B, nothing scares you from that offense. And if you don't have to worry about the running game at all, like with the New York Jets, God love Frank Gore for hanging around and, putting the cap on his Hall of Fame career. But he's not getting, he's 15 carries for 60 yards. That's his ceiling at running back. So you really don't have to account for that, as opposed to a guy like, let's just say, the opposite end of the spectrum. When Dalvin Cook gets the football, oh my goodness, let's rush to the ball. Or when there's a play action pass from Kirk Cousins to Dalvin Cook, you better make sure you're covering Dalvin Cook. And oh no, they're pulling it back to pass. It's almost like when you hand it to Frank Gore, they still play through the quarterback because you can always catch up to Frank Gore. It's interesting to think about these games, but again, we're trying to find that little bit of an edge that says at least one team, Kyle, has a chance at the playoffs and wants to win, and that's where we'll leave it there. Yeah. Next 1 o'clock game, we just saw this a couple weeks ago, and the score was the game was much worse than the score, even though it was a blowout. The New Orleans Saints sacked Matt Ryan time after time after time. We're talking about 463, 464. New Orleans and the Atlanta Falcons opens up as 3. Kyle, I'm seeing 2.5 at some outlets, a 47.5 that dropped to 45.5. And sometimes I just think we hate on something that works and we're just waiting for it to fail and we're trying to be sharp to make sure it does. Meaning Taysom Hill came in and The book out of Atlanta is, oh, my God, we practiced all week for Jameis Winston. We had no idea Taysom Hill would play. You got to be kidding me with that. They got boat raced in that football game. New Orleans did whatever they wanted on offense and defense. Now you saw New Orleans go on the road last week and absolutely boat race Denver. Now, New Orleans could have went in and said, hey, this kid's going to make some plays at quarterback. I saw Joe Webb beat by Philadelphia Eagles on a Tuesday night in Philadelphia, heavily favored from a wide receiver playing quarterback. So I've seen it done before. Mm-hmm. But I think we're knocking Taysom Hill and that offense because Sean Payton was a really smart head coach and goes, this team can't get a first down. Why would I even pass to begin with? And a Denver defense that some other companies out here have rated as a top 5 defense knew New Orleans wasn't passing, and they still dominated them on the ground. That shows me a smart head football coach, and B, a team that's ready to win by saying, we don't need to be pretty today. Let's just keep it on the ground and get out of here with a W. But I think gamblers and maybe Las Vegas setting the lines is holding that against and saying, hey, Atlanta saw Taysom Hill before. They're not going to be surprised. You know what also Atlanta saw the week before? A nasty defense coming after and beating the hell out of Matt Ryan. Is that just going to stop miraculously? And Julio Jones might not play this week. Who played in the last game that they played? I'm not give me the 2.5 with New Orleans. I'm not buying this nonsense.
Exactly. And if I remember correctly, Marshawn Lattimore missed that game too, if I remember correctly. And what's funny about Atlanta making the excuse, we were preparing for Wednesday, is in the first half, their defense actually slowed down New Orleans. It wasn't until the second half that New Orleans offense started going. If you remember, I remember getting 40 tweets. Oh, everyone was so excited about Taysom Hill at tight end this week, and look, he's not doing anything. And then, boom, had a big second half. So they made the adjustments at halftime and then dominated that game. Atlanta's got no shot in this game. I know they looked good last week, and everyone's high on them, and that's exciting. And, Taysom Hill didn't throw for crap last week against Denver. Let's not forget Denver, when healthy with Bryce Callahan and A.J. Bouye, have an excellent secondary. The Falcons do not. They are a terrible secondary, and now Kendall Sheffield, he's ill, didn't practice yesterday. Maybe he's ready to go. I mean, it doesn't really hurt you if he misses. He's been a dreadful corner anyways. Isaiah Oliver, terrible. A.J. Terrell, the rookie, probably their best secondary player, still making a lot of mistakes. And we saw Taysom Hill have a nice game to Michael Thomas. He was targeted, 12 times, had over 100 yards receiving. I actually liked what I saw out of Hill against Atlanta. And they know they're going to have to throw the ball a little bit more because Atlanta's offense with Matt Ryan is a little bit more dangerous than, Kendall Hinton for Denver. You got to like the Saints here. I've seen nothing from the Falcons that makes me think they can beat this New Orleans defense. I almost lean the under in this game. I don't think the Falcons can put the points on the board against this defense, and I'm not sure the Saints need to, and they're going to sort of run, what they run with Taysom Hill. I know it's a low number, and it's weird to think, when you think Saints Falcons, you think points and dome and, Ryan and Breeze and But I think I kind of lean the under here, but I like the Saints. I think they get it done too. I think this line's a little too short as well.
I like your look on the under there. I really do, because we're trying to get over that. We love New Orleans' offense, right? And if Drew Brees comes back healthy, they'll be clicking. Taysom Hill goes back to that even better version of his former self, but getting all these reps at quarterback. But let's focus in on what the defense is actually doing over the last month for the New Orleans Saints. Tampa Bay, pretty high-octane offense, right? 8 yards rushing they held them to, and 186 yards in the air. San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan in the dome, they give up 13 points. They give up, first of all, 3 to Tampa Bay, which is ridiculous. 13 points to San Francisco. Hold them to under 50 yards on the ground and 232 in the air. The Atlanta Falcons that we just saw, 24-9. 52 yards on the ground, 196 in the air. And then last week to Denver, 100 yards on the ground, but only 3 yards per carry and 12 yards passing and 1 completion last week. This defense is cooking. They'll be doing it again. I'm not going to fall, because I know a lot of people will say, like, hey, reading the lines, that's definitely an Atlanta line. It is an Atlanta line, but as you say, to try to outsmart yourself. Do you think New Orleans can win this football game? Of course you do. So I wouldn't be scared off by that line. If it goes to 4.5 in that range, maybe that way. Atlanta is playing good football. I preface that by saying that. But I don't buy this narrative. Still Taysom Hill, not going to surprise us again. Come on, enough with that nonsense out here. Let's keep moving here. 465, 466, the last of the 1 o'clock games here on Sunday, and a good one. Cleveland and Tennessee, Baker Mayfield and Ryan Tannehill. If we take a look at SBRodds.com, tickets coming in, right around 55% of the tickets coming in for the Tennessee Titans. Opened up around that 6 range, still hanging around there. 5.5's also coming through. I watched the game last week. Jacksonville's got a really bad defense. But you know what I'm really impressed by? The two-headed monster in the backfield. Baker Mayfield did miss some wide-open throws in the end zone, which you do got to get corrected if you want to win big games. But slowly plodding along, those Cleveland Browns toward the playoffs, they're going to get Myles Garrett back. I do think we see points here, but if I'm Cleveland, I'm not really trying to engage in a shootout because I think I would lose it. I might want to lean on those two running backs, but are we ready to take Baker Mayfield in this game? He doesn't have to win because it's 5.5 or 6, but it's still a one-possession game. Love the way Tennessee seems to be turning the corner and hitting on all cylinders. We'll see if they get Humphreys back to make that offense completely whole, but if not, Tennessee should be able to move the football regardless if Myles Garrett plays or doesn't play because the key ingredient on that defense is Denzel Ward's probably going to miss another week. Ronnie Harrison, the safety, he's probably going to miss some time as well. That leaves that secondary vulnerable against a really good passing attack. Baker Mayfield's going to have to keep up as opposed to slowing and settling it down. He might have to answer the bell in this one, and that's not the spot you want to have Baker Mayfield in.
No, and I said it on Tuesday, and I'll say it again. The Cleveland Browns are frauds. They are 8-3. But, I mean, look, they could barely squeak past Mike Glennon, the third-string quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I like Tennessee. I like Tennessee quite a bit in this game. I don't think Cleveland has a shot. I don't mind. If it's sitting there under a touchdown, I will take it. I'm just not a believer in Cleveland. I don't think their defense is very good. You're right. The best part about this team, outside of Myles Garrett, of course, is that two-headed monster in the those two running backs. Then you go to the other side. That's Derrick Henry on the other side, just going to run down their throat. They don't have anyone who can stop A.J. Brown this week without Denzel Ward. You're going to have Terrence Mitchell out there who has absolutely no shot at stopping A.J. Brown. I like the Titans in this one. I think it gets done pretty easy. I'm a little nervous about that over. It is going to be, looks like low wind in that game, but still 38 degrees on the road. Do we trust Baker Mayfield in those conditions, even though it's not a full-strength Tennessee secondary yet? Not until Adoree Jackson really gets back and starts, imposing his will. He's a very good corner once he finally does play. I got to take the Titans in this one. I'm not messing with that over/under because I just don't trust the Browns' offense to be that high octane. I think you're right. They try to run the football and keep the Tennessee offense on the sideline. But I like the Titans. I think they get it done pretty easy. It won't shock me if Tennessee wins this by double digits.
No, it wouldn't shock me. And you are talking about some cooler temperatures there, but it looks like it'll be around 40 around kickoff. But look at the winds, 2 miles an hour. So it's a beautiful day for football. Both of these teams should run it, which leads me to believe you take a look at that over-under that opened up so high, but now still sitting in that 53.5 range. The pathway to victory for me is not Cleveland going toe-to-toe. Maybe if they had Odell Beckham and you can really spread the field a little bit more. But the Browns, to me, no longer a big play offense, which I agree with. I think it's really good coaching and from that front office to say, look, if we're going to get the most out of Baker Mayfield, let's use these two running backs in this big, nasty offensive line and try to get after it. Because as we know, Tennessee is not a great defensive football team. And if you could put Baker Mayfield in good situations ahead of the sticks, 2nd downs and 5s, 3rd downs and 3s, he can operate off play action, make a few mobile plays in the pocket to get some of these guys open. It's a fun game to watch, but you see that Cleveland Browns team total around 23.5, Tennessee in that higher range. I do think they both play into the 20s to get this, but I'm more confident in the Tennessee offense than I am actually in the Cleveland offense, just from big playability where the wide receivers can go make me a play. I like Jarvis Landry, don't get me wrong, but he's more of that, I'm open on 3rd and 8, let me get the 12-yard first down, as opposed to A.J. Brown just making big play after big play against big-time defenses here. So good game to watch out for.
A.J. Brown, by the way, did miss practice today with a hip injury, and Jonnu Smith.
Always. He always misses Thursday. He hasn't practiced on Thursdays yet this year, so it's one of those interesting anomalies. Keep an eye on the Friday report, but that's a new one, the hip. It's usually he sits out because he just wants to rest his knee, but I don't know now if it's superstition, like, yo, I missed Thursday practices. I'm balling out here on the weekend, and the coach says, hey, roll with it until you stink on Sunday, then I need you back out there on a Thursday. So we'll see what happens here. 467, 468 into the 4 o'clock games. Not a lot to go on in this one. We do think Seattle's going to probably win this game. It's a 10-point line. You're probably going to have to get Colt McCoy because here's what I hear. I love this. You know I love this, Kyle. Hamstring injury for Daniel Jones. Looks like he might play this weekend. Let me dial myself in the future. Boop, 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 boop. Can I talk to Donnie on Sunday? Daniel Jones isn't playing. Okay, hang up the phone now. So let's go ahead with Colt McCoy and the packages that they're going to deal with. Do we I like that they're a competent football team, the Giants. You got a break last week with no Joe Burrow, and you get to play some clown at quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals, and you barely walk away with a victory in that one. Now you play a much more formidable opponent, played the Eagles. Didn't have to do much to beat the Eagles, walked out of there with a victory, didn't get the cover, but now you go back. Seattle's going to win this game. The matter of fact is, how much are they going to win it by? Because I don't think you need to do all that much again on offense with Russell Wilson. Maybe hand the football off instead of trying to make that big play. I'm not going with Colt McCoy as a competent quarterback on the road. And actually, if I saw Daniel Jones was the starter, what do we like best about Daniel Jones? He's active. He's mobile. He can run read option, pull the football and pick up a first down, or against the Eagles, run for 80 yards. He would be nowhere near doing that with a hamstring injury. So from my side, I actually would love to see him announced as like the quarterback. Hey, he's cleared to go on Friday, and that line goes from 10 to like 7. I will ring that cash register on Seattle, because what Daniel Jones does is mobile and athletic. And if he's not mobile or athletic, I don't want anything to do with him.
Yeah, and he didn't practice today either. He's not going to play. That's just ridiculous. No. I mean, we've seen it all year. If you have a hamstring injury, you're probably not playing. It's going to be a few
Nobody
weeks.
knows it. Nobody, like, they should call me, Kyle. Like, I could be a doctor. Like, hold on. He left the game with an injury. Let me call this guy in Southern New Jersey. Hello, Donnie, RightSide. There's a hamstring. Yeah, you know what? 2 weeks, probably. Boop. Thank you.
Just like that. Job. Just like that. I mean, every single time. I don't understand why it's not going to happen. But man, the thing about Seattle, they don't play these blowout type games. Every game they play, no matter who it's against. Even last year against the Bengals, the 1-win Bengals last year, I believe it was a 3 or 4 point game. Like, it's just what they do. And of course, a lot of those 6.5 backers got burned by that Hail Mary this week, and the 2-point conversion, just all sorts of funny stuff went against them. But I don't know that I can take Seattle as 10-point favorites, simply because, not that they're not 10 points better than the Giants. They certainly are, and they could absolutely beat them by that. It's just, first of all, the defense isn't very good, so there's room for a backdoor cover there. Colt McCoy is a competent quarterback. He's not Kendall Hinton. He can get the ball to some of those receivers, Shepard and Slayton and, maybe even Golden Tate. It's a real bad secondary in Seattle, historically bad this year. So even though, taking a road backup quarterback in Seattle with no fans, I still can't take Seattle by double digits because I just don't trust them to keep their foot on the gas. So I'd probably lean the Giants to cover here, but I like Seattle to win.
It's funny. Good comment out there, Dr. DiNucci, which brings me up a point. Like, let me put in it always gets back to this. Let me put this in perspective for you guys out here about Ben DiNucci, right? Since I'm coming from a doctor perspective. Kendall Hinton played last week, Kyle. Correct me if I'm wrong. 1 completion, 13 yards, 2 interceptions. Yeah. If you look at Pro Football Focus, where they rate every quarterback for the season, Kendall Hinton is 1 point behind Ben DiNucci. DiNucci had a 25 rating. They gave Hinton a 24, even though he had 1 completion and 2 interceptions. Guys, remember this for the rest of your life. You all should have DiNucci jerseys on your wall. Yeah. You'll never see something like that again, so just keep that in mind. It's always nice we can work that back into it. So I thank you out there for whoever said DiNucci, which brought me back to Ben DiNucci, of course. Let's keep going here, but I think the point well is taken here. I actually want Daniel Jones would say, hey, Daniel Jones is in. They're getting 7 now. I'll take it. The Giants are competent. Great. You take that and he'll be on one leg, and Seattle will blow the doors off that football team. And Colt McCoy will probably be in by the third quarter anyway. 469, 470, the Los Angeles Rams, who looked awful going up against San Francisco. The guy who likes San Francisco didn't believe it was going to happen. The guy who dislikes San Francisco did believe that was going to happen last week. But we'll see what takes place. The only question and it's funny because Jared Goff was the number 1 overall pick. We've seen competent performances out of Jared Goff. But it always gets back to, if you could somehow just, trade places, if you're the Los Angeles Rams, you gave them a lot of money. But if you could pick one of, 15 other average quarterbacks, I really think that Rams offense would be a juggernaut. But you always watch him in the game and say, why doesn't he push the football down the field? Why don't the Rams make enough big plays? Because it's on Jared Goff. We just say, what the hell is he doing out here? And it seems to happen every week. But I look at this game between the Rams and the Arizona Cardinals, 469, 470 on the rotation, and see the -1 they open up at with SBRodds.com. It's now up to a 3 at most spots, some 2.5s with a lot of juice, and over under 48.5. The Rams, to me, are a complete football team outside of their quarterback, but that's where you win. But I look at this game still banged up in practice with Kyler Murray at quarterback. I still want to take the Rams, but when I do, I know what I'm signing up for. The Rams will have an early lead, 14-3, and Jared Goff just makes dumb mistake after dumb mistake and just can't extend the lead. And here comes Kyler Murray in Arizona coming through the back door there with a victory. I'm still taking the Rams in this game, but it's not because of their quarterback, Jared Goff here.
Yeah, and you kind of saw last week, right, with Kyler Murray nursing that shoulder, they didn't really want to unleash him. No. He wasn't the same, if the play's breaking down, I'm running. He was really protecting that shoulder. If he's going to play that way again, it's going to be tough sledding for that offense because the Rams defense is very, very good across the board. Front seven, the front sevens, the secondary, all of them very, very good. You could argue they have the best secondary in the league. They probably do. And Aaron Murray, by the way, he played some quarterback in the XFL for the Tampa Bay Vikings. So there we go. He was playing for Bob Stoops out there. I think Bob Stoops was coaching that team. Anyways, I digress. You got to take the Rams simply because you just don't know how healthy Kyler Murray is. If this was a fully healthy Kyler Murray, I would take the home team on the points. I took him on Tuesday. Then I went and rewatched that game against New England. And even though they should have won the game, our boy Zane Gonzalez, we'll talk about him a little more when Kelsey gets on here. Our boy Zane Gonzalez can't make a kick. They should have covered. I just didn't like the body language from Kyler Murray. He wasn't his usual self. For Arizona to be special and beat a good defense like this, you are going to need Kyler Murray to make plays with his legs. And then when you flip it over, yes, Jared Goff is dreadful. But this is a beatable defense in Arizona. Patrick Peterson is not the same shutdown corner as he was in years past. Drake Kirkpatrick and Byron Murphy are not good corners. Cooper Kupp should have a field day on the slot against Byron Murphy. I like the Rams. Now, if we get reports that Kyler Murray is fully 100% ready to go, maybe my mind will change. But right now, without a fully healthy Kyler Murray, I think it's too much to overcome for Arizona. So give me the Rams.
Yeah, the Rams are too talented to lose games like they did last week to the 49ers, even though I thought the 49ers would put up a really good fight in that game. You got to be better than that. And again, it just stems from a coach that's like with a high-octane mind and dominant wide receivers, or at least wide receivers good enough to push the issue. And he knows his quarterback just can't get down the field and make plays, so you dumb the offense down a little bit, and that's what shows up. So you see in the chat, I say, hey, the line keeps hitting 3 and back to 2.5. It's doing that because Jared Goff is the wild card in this game. Let's keep moving forward here. 425 primetime action, 471, 472. The Philadelphia Eagles, Carson Wentz seemingly going to get the start in this football game. They looked horrendous, but this is the NFL, Kyle. They looked horrendous, still covered their spread because it's not about winning a football game. And you see the buyback again this week with the Green Bay Packers. Opens up at 9, quickly goes to 9.5, now dips down to 9s, 8.5s across the board. Even some outlets that are showing 8, over under at 48 in this one, specifically looking at, can the Eagles score any points? Because again, if the Eagles can score points, that will push Green Bay and vice versa. You saw the game last year. No way in hell the Philadelphia Eagles are going to beat the Green Bay Packers. They went in the Lambeau and beat the Green Bay Packers, which is astounding. I don't know if we're going to get a rematch of that type of game because the Packers clearly a better football team, but that's why you're seeing the buyback here, because no matter how bad you think a football team is, you still have to cover a spread, not just win the game. And make this be one of those games where the Green Bay Packers are up 14 points. Nobody cares anymore. 3 minutes left to go in the game, and you're throwing these, crocked Hail Marys from the 35-yard line and scoring touchdowns with Richard Rodgers. I don't believe in the Philadelphia Eagles, but I do believe that the Green Bay Packers should be up at the half by at least a touchdown. Trying to factor on a way to see, because here's the issue I have. If Carson Wentz is going to play the full football game, it should go over the 48. Because in the NFL, it's a cyclical league. The Eagles, unless you're horrendous, which they were last week, they weren't able to get to the 20-point mark. But also keep in mind, blowing things and throwing interceptions in the red zone, those should be points in the NFL. Green Bay is a really bad defensive team. Aaron Rodgers should be able to push the football, even though the Eagles do have a decent team and also rated number 1 pass rush in the NFL, which is how you disrupt Aaron Rodgers. Again, I don't believe in it, but I do think that under has a chance. It's going to be cold in Green Bay, but not a lot of wind. It's hard for me to back the Eagles after what I saw on Monday Night Football. But again, they covered. Isn't that the name of the game?
That's the name of the game, and Green Bay is also a fraud, And I think back when I think of Green Bay, Philadelphia. Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't this the Freddie Mitchell game in the playoffs? Right, McNabb hit Freddie Mitchell on that
Fourth and
what the
26. I was there.
fourth
Yes.
and
I
fourth
told
and
my dad, you're
26.
sitting in our row, C18, row 12, seats 12 and 13. Dad, here, get ready to go. The minute this ball hits the ground, we're running out of here. I'm furious. And we ended up staying, and they picked up a win. Go ahead.
Oh, man, what a game. What a game. But the Packers are the better team. I certainly think they'll win this game. But I just can't take them as 9-point favorites against anybody. I just don't trust them in that way. Now, look, Devontae Adams, we saw Darius Slay could not handle DK Metcalf. That was easy to call. Now, Devontae Adams isn't the same sort of athlete that DK Metcalf is, but nonetheless, he should feast on Darius Slay in shadow coverage. But you're right. When you put pressure on Aaron Rodgers, which Philadelphia can do, that offense struggles a bit. I don't know what that moron coach is doing, constantly putting in Jamal Williams and taking out Aaron Jones. I think Philadelphia covers here. I know they look bad on Monday. I don't think they can win this game, but I certainly think they can keep it within 10 points, and I just don't trust Green Bay to cover. I've sort of dealt with this against the 49ers just a few weeks back, and you saw that defense can be pushed around, especially when they're not fully engaged. So even though I think the Eagles stink, I think Carson Wentz makes way too many mistakes, and I don't know what the hell Doug Peterson is doing with all of these musical chairs at quarterback and all this weird nonsense. I still think they can do enough to cover because I don't trust that Green Bay defense. So I'll take the Eagles to cover here. 8.5 and 9 is too much.
Yeah, the wild card in this game is actually the Eagles' offensive line. If they can just block anybody to give the wide receivers and tight ends a chance, and if you guys follow me on Twitter, you see I like to break down some of the plays that they do where it's just maddening, where one play, two guys will be wide open, and the next 5 plays, not a single soul is open, and the quarterback is getting his brains beat in. So that's just the name of the game with a tough. But hey, a half game out of first place here in the NFC East, you never know with those Philadelphia Eagles. Let's hit the speed burner button over these next couple games. In just a few moments, we're going to bring in Kelsey Kramer, talk a little pick six action. Missed her last week, so we got some catching up to do and see what's going on in Kelsey's world here. 473, 474, New England Patriots, Los Angeles Chargers. Cam Newton was a bit, I don't know. I don't know how New England won last week. It's still baffling, even though if you watch the game, Arizona getting, those long drives, not coming up with points, missing 45-yard field goals. Cam Newton getting hit inbounds, and somehow they called it out of bounds, 15-yard penalty, leads to a 50-yard field goal, and New England picks up the victory, despite Cam Newton throwing for under 100 yards. And every time he throws a football, I have no idea, first of all, how the ball even leaves his arm, because it's such an awkward motion. They're winning by smoke and mirrors. You're going to get a good offensive output here by the Chargers. I don't care if it's Bill Belichick and their defense is healthy. They don't have a pass rush, and that's an elite offense for the Chargers. Outside of Anthony Lynn holding them back, they should be able to score points. The one thing I'm not going to do is say, hey, I think New England can put on a competent performance. The Chargers can't win. I need an offense going into the game, Kyle, where I don't say, I hope my quarterback throws for more than 100 yards. Give me the better offense in this game, and I'll deal with it. I'm going Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough game for the Chargers. They're playing against their own head coach, who just cannot do anything right, and the New England Patriots, right? I mean, they're literally it's Anthony Lynn, the Patriots versus the Chargers. I like the under in this game quite a bit. Even though the Chargers defense hasn't been great, does Cam Newton really take advantage of bad secondaries? Nope. Can't throw the football. I mean, last week he faced another bad one in Arizona, threw for like 80 yards. Give me a break. Terrible. Like, when you just go talent for talent with Eckler back, and if Ingram plays, Bosa, the Chargers are the better team, and they should win this game. The only thing you're concerned about is that coach is such a moron. Like, he makes Mike McCarthy look like Albert Einstein. It's incredible, the bad play calling of Anthony Lynn. Oh, God, I guess I got to take the Chargers here. I just think they're the more talented team, but I feel absolutely disgusted about it. The real bet that I like is taking the under. I don't think they get anywhere close to that 48. I think this is more like a 24-17, maybe 24-10 type of game. Don't see a lot of points out of New England. I think the New England defense is good enough to slow down the Chargers a little bit here. I'll take the Bolts. Don't feel great about it, and I like the under.
All right, we'll keep moving along here. Let's go with the nightcap, 475, 476, 14-point line here for the Kansas City Chiefs. Over-under opened up at 50, now sitting at 51. You would think there will be points, because if you do engage Kansas City, they will engage back. But you thought there would be more points last week, and the Chiefs with so many yards, but just said in the second half, let's just pull the pin out here, because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers kept self-destructing in the third quarter by going on drives and then throwing, close to red zone interceptions where you saw the Chiefs not having to push the issue. If the Chiefs have to push the issue, Kyle, is there a better team of all time than pushing the issue that's saying we have to score? I don't know how you stop Patrick Mahomes. And watching that game last week, you saw how they operated, a winning organization with maybe could turn out to be the most dominant quarterback of all time. You just need a couple first downs. In the NFL, 99% of the time, if you need 2 first downs to run out the clock, they never get it. They get 1, maybe they don't even get any, and they punt the football back, and now the game is in peril. Patrick Mahomes was throwing the football repeatedly because if you stop the clock, they're going to get the ball back. That's how good he is. Let's just throw a 2-yard out. Guy makes the catch. How about we roll out on third down and just throw a dart out to our wide receiver, Tyreek Hill, and clinch this game? It's amazing stuff. The Chiefs are going to blow Denver out. It's just a matter of how many points Denver can score to see if we can hit that total of 51.
Yeah, exactly. And no Bryce Callahan's a huge loss for Denver. I'm kind of looking at the report. I don't see him on the injury report. Did they just IR him? Because I don't think
I think he's IR'd. I do think he's IR'd, yeah.
I don't think he's going to play this week. We see Edwards-Helaire sort of mispractice today with what looks like an illness, but you're right. They should be able to throw the ball up and down the field. Now, with Denver getting their quarterbacks back, we have seen this Chiefs defense be pretty vulnerable. It's not a good defense in Kansas City. So if Drew Lock can be a little competent, I do expect him to have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. He apologized and, he felt responsible for missing the game last week. And of course, Vic Fangio just blast the hell out of him, which we kind of made fun of earlier. I don't think it was really warranted, but the Denver passing game should be able to move the football on Kansas City. I know Phillip Lindsay's a little banged up, so it's going to be a lot of Melvin Gordon, who's a more athletic back. I still think Lindsay's a little bit better of a football player. Honestly, again, I can't trust the Chiefs to cover by 2 touchdowns because they just haven't been covering these spreads lately. They seem to take their foot off the gas, and if they're up by 10 late in this game, they're not doing this typical Andy Reid, let's go down and punish this team. They're sort of holding back. We've sort of seen Denver get down big and be able to put up points late in the game. That Atlanta game comes to mind. So I do think Denver can cover here. I don't feel great about taking either side, but I think you're right. I think the over is pretty safe. You can expect Kansas City to get close to 30, and I don't think that defense can stop Denver from getting into the 20. So I'll take the over. If I'm picking a side, I guess I'd take Denver to cover the 14.
It makes sense, but we already saw them blow them out one time. Didn't even need to do that much on offense in order to do that in some bad weather. So we'll see if Drew Lock bounces back. But I just have one of those feelings too. Like you should be going with Drew Lock, but who knows? Vic Fangio, he's got to learn. He's got to learn to be a leader. He wasn't a leader last week, so we're going to sit him down for next year, like they're doing with Gardner Minshew in Jacksonville. He's healthy. Yeah. He's not a leader yet. He's got to sit down and learn. So we'll see if that comes. Doubleheader on Monday Night Football. We'll talk about real quick, and then we'll get it over to Kelsey Kramer. 4:59, 4:60, Washington and Pittsburgh. Alex Smith coming to town. Get a little bit lucky there with that injury to Bud Dupree late in the football game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So maybe down a little bit of that pass rushing notion, but you see Pittsburgh not really doing it with style points. Washington is a competent football team and will be much more rested. They'll dink and dunk and be competent, but the factoring is can you win like that going up against the Steelers defense? You could do it against Dallas and, some of these NFC East teams, but that's a really good defense by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Are they competent enough to hold this game around that under double-digit range with extra rest? I think they do because I think the Steelers just worried about winning football games, and I actually do think they cover here early in the week.
That's tough. These are 2 good defenses. Washington is a legitimate defense, and after what we saw yesterday, I just don't know. I think Washington actually covers early in the week. I don't know that I trust Pittsburgh to win by double digits. Look, if you're gonna get backdoor covered by Trace McSorley and Robert Griffin III.
Oh my God.
I mean, give me a break here. And that Washington defense they're facing next week isn't much worse than what they saw in Baltimore yesterday. A little bit different. Washington's secondary is not as good. It's kind of different. They actually get after the passer a little bit more. I think Washington covers here. I think that line is too high. A lot of disrespect to Washington. I know they don't have a ton of talent on offense, but Terry McLaurin should be able to beat some of those corners. And I just like the defense too much to not take him when you're getting 9-10 points. So I'll take Washington early in the week to cover.
Second doubleheader game on Monday, which we'll be on live for 477, 478. That is going to be Buffalo and San Francisco, SBRodds.com. Showing about 6 out of every 10 tickets coming in here on Buffalo, but they opened up, Kyle, as a 2.5-point favorite, now down to 1 across the board. I really like San Francisco. I mean, I've been getting value after value on them, even with a lot of their players injured, which now seemingly coming back. Still no George Kittle, obviously no Jimmy Garoppolo. But the question that you're betting now is, it's amazing how good Kyle Shanahan is as a head coach, because Nick Mullins is not a good quarterback. If we take a look at some of the rankings out here, he's actually behind Blaine Gabbert and Joe Flacco along with Drew Lock. So that should tell you coming into this football game what you're getting, and they're still able to win because he's still a young kid. He can make the throws, but we see he's really not ready for primetime, but they're still winning. To win this football game against Buffalo, which again is a 1-point line in a neutral environment, it's not even in San Francisco, it's going to be played in Arizona. I don't know if I can and again, I love Shanahan. I love the offense. The defense is playing extremely hard. But now you're asking Nick Mullins to win this football game, not just hang around by 7 points. I don't know if I can get there. So I'm still leaning towards the Bills here on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, there's a gardener I just want to kick right in the teeth outside, and he knows better than to be here at this time, but we'll get through it. I look at this game with Richard Sherman back. The 49ers corners become very good on the outside, making things tough, with no John Brown. It's now Gabriel Davis. Hold on one second. I'll mute that.
Yeah, cut that off. Go ahead. Yeah, good. There we go. So cut it off. We get Kyle getting his hedges trimmed over there, as Kyle would say. That's another story for another day and a perfect title to his life right there. So we'll keep it moving forward and go with that. But I get the gist of what he's saying. You're looking at Nick Mullins here trying to win a football game. Over-under also seems high at 48, even though Buffalo can move the football. When you take John Brown out of that offense, you sort of get a downgrade. And I do think Nick Mullins and their offense will be able to move the football against Buffalo. Keep in mind also Matt Milano, who I think is the best linebacker for the Buffalo Bills, activated off IR, so he's going to have a chance to come back and make a difference in this football game. So that's where we have it for the week here. Dallas and Baltimore is that last game of the week, but I don't think they're, we don't really have any lines too much coming out for that game. We'll see who actually makes it to the starting line if Lamar Jackson comes back, how many players come back. So we don't have to waste too much time on that game. But now, let's talk a little pick six contest action, which we missed last week on our holiday show. Kelsey Kramer running around the country, very busy as well. But we're going to bring her in here and talk a little bit of pick six contest action. Kelsey, welcome in. We missed you last week.
I know. Happy Thanksgiving. A little late.
Yeah, how did we do on Thanksgiving last week? How was our Thanksgiving? Were we roaming around? Were we bar crawling? We had a show to do last week. Oh, well.
No, I had 4 servings, started early, ended late. Didn't get drunk, had to work Friday morning, so I was pretty good for once.
And look, hey, Kyle's here today, struggling through the show as usual, but now at least we have an excuse for it. He's ready to go. And I guess we're still.
I'm going to step out there. I'm going to step out there and tell this guy to kill it. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Look, Kyle's actually there. So, all right. So now we can get into a pick six contest action. Let's start last week since we didn't have you on the show. Do we have a profitable week? Was it good in the pick six contest? How did it wind up for you there last week?
It was good, and it wasn't good. I mean, I was going to go 4-2 until that Steelers game. I took the over, but they hit the end. That was awful.
almost got there at the end with some miracles as it went through. So let's talk about this weekend's games and see what we have to offer here. I know you're taking a look because a couple weeks ago we saw the New Orleans Saints roll right through the Atlanta Falcons. Now we're getting a replay of that game. Still a healthier options here, a healthy team for the New Orleans Saints, but a more banged up team, it seems like, for the Atlanta Falcons. Are we looking for the Falcons who are playing well under Raheem Morris, or is this going to be more of the same here, Kelsey, where, hey, man, can't go against New Orleans. They're playing some really good football out here.
I like the Saints. I really want to cheer for the Falcons, but it's been hard this season. Julio Jones is expected to be back, but again, that's going to be a game day decision. I think this one is pretty tricky just because there's a lot hanging over the Saints. They need to win this one, but also Raheem Morris needs to win this one if he wants a shot at interviewing for the head coach position. So still, I don't trust the Falcons. It's really hard. I like the Saints here. They're just the stronger team.
I agree. I mean, again, no fans are really going to be in the stands here. That can certainly sway the opinion. I don't know why fans would want to go out and watch the Falcons anyway this late in the year. So I do agree with that pick on the Saints. I do think they win the football game. I'm not trying to outsmart myself on that one. How about the Cleveland Browns traveling down to play Tennessee? Cooler temperatures in the air, about 40 degrees expected here in Nashville. Are you getting all Baker Mayfield up for this one? Or you say, hey, you know what? Tennessee playing good football. I'm going to ride that wave.
I like the Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry matchup we're going to be seeing. But at the end of the day, I like the Titans for this one. Browns have a banged-up secondary, and we saw that last week when the Jaguars almost took over. So I'm rolling with the Titans.
There you go, rolling with it. Kyle, are we still trimming bushes over there? What are we doing?
Just told him, turn that thing off for 10 minutes. If I have to go back out there, I'm going to have to bend him over my knee. He's not going to be happy. But, no, I agree. I like the Titans quite a bit this week. And everyone wants to know, it's time to DTBK, dump that bad kicker after missing last week. Time to get rid of Zane Gonzalez.
You're messing segue with this one. There you go. See, Kyle's jumping in, messing in segues because we take a look at the next play that Kelsey Kramer is going to dip her fingers into. The Rams and the Cardinals looking at a total. And the only thing I could think of is if kickers are missing field goals, you probably want to go under. And there was a big missed field goal last week that Kyle was beside himself and had to actively text during the week to see why kickers are missing field goals. Where are we going in this Rams-Arizona Cardinal game here?
Definitely the Rams. Well, I like the under, but I like the Rams too. Still, you don't know what Cardinals team is going to show up or which Zane Gonzalez is going to show up. So I like the under. Kyle Murray, he looks scary out there. I want to say he's afraid. He's afraid to get hit, and I don't know what he's going to do when he sees Aaron Donald coming after him. So I'm taking the under just to, I don't know, it's my safe zone. Cardinals have hit it they're 8-3 on it. Donnie, stop laughing. And
I got some good stuff here. Yeah, go ahead.
In the last 7 matchups, the Rams have hit it. So I'm trusting the under.
Now, see, we walk right into this, Kyle, because you're saying like the Rams have hit it, and like Zane, you've been waiting 2 weeks for this, Kyle. So I'll give you some time here.
Yeah, I mean, Zane Gonzalez, and of course these guys are trying to ruin my glory here with Zane Gonzalez. That's why it's just time to get rid of this damn kicker. Now, we were asking Monday Night Football, the most hilarious part about this, just to let everyone behind the curtain, before the Monday Night Football show, Flash legitimately asked me, is Kelsey really dating Zane Gonzalez?
See, that's how internet rumors start. Good job.
That's how it starts. So maybe you could give us a heads up if he's had a bad week and we know he's going to miss those important kicks because we know we can't trust Zane Gonzalez. Time to dump that bad kicker.
45-yarder off to the right, and Arizona took the loss in that one. Let's keep it moving here because of that same game where Zane Gonzalez did miss a field goal. The Patriots are now headed out west to take on the Chargers, who can't get out of their own way. They can't cover for any, forget about the overs in the game. They can't. Getting 5 versus Buffalo. Oh, my God, we're inside the 5, 2 minutes. Doesn't even matter if they score now for the Buffalo Bills. Let's run the football with under 30 seconds left. Didn't work out that well. So looking this week, are we trusting Cam Newton? Or are we going back to Justin Herbert with that fresh cut and Austin Eckler back in the backfield? Who are we going with in this game?
I'm not trusting Cam Newton. I'm trusting what's around him. I'm trusting Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick knows how to handle these rookie QBs, and the Chargers defense blows. They can't even finish the fourth quarter. So I am Bill Belichick.
Kyle?
And the Pats. Kyle,
wow.
what?
Wow, no, I mean, that the Chargers defense does blow. I agree with that, but it's just tough to trust Cam Newton in that offense, so I lean the Chargers, but I don't blame you. It's an uphill battle.
Sharp move coming up here. By the way, Kyle, sharp in this game. I'm looking right here at Kelsey's pick here. We're going up to Seattle again, which we talked about, Danny Dimes and, how that hamstring injury is holding up. Will he be in? Will he be out? Looks like that line is settling in around 10. Did we get a sharp action move here from Kelsey Kramer in this game?
Wait, for Seattle Giants?
Yeah.
We sure did. We
Nice.
sure did, and I like the pick. Sorry, this damn blower. I am going to scream bloody murder at these guys when this show is over. I am so pissed. I told them, turn it off for 15 minutes, and what do? Come right by my door. It is on and cracking. I'm getting the golf clubs out. I'm going to be a crazy old man. But I love the sharp pick. I'm going to go ahead and hit mute now because these guys want to ruin my day.
Yeah.
Seattle, Kelsey. What are we looking at? Go ahead. What are we looking at in this one?
Seattle -7.5.
Reasoning. Give me. I need a I mean, is it Russ? Is it Chris Carson? Did you love the fact they cleaned up my Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football? I mean, was that why we're basing this?
I do love that, but Russ is looking rusty out there. He needs to get back to cooking. Seattle can win this one. Giants don't have a QB option. You're getting the hobbled guy or the McCoy. Yeah. So I think Seattle, Russell to Metcalf all the way if he throws it to Metcalf. Every time I say I trust. Every time
it's a great number too. You got it at a great number at 7.5.
He doesn't perform well, so I'm really just jinxing myself. But that's a good number. So, Kyle, what are you doing?
Kyle's, I think Kyle's actually I think he has the guy in front of his desk right now. That's
just I'm so mad. I'm so mad at them right now. And I'm like, I don't know how much energy I have to kick these guys, but I'm going to kick them. I'm kicking the landscaper. I know that sounds horrible, but I don't care. I'm the bad guy in a movie. I don't care.
Let's talk about San Francisco 49ers action here. Heading down to your neck of the woods here, not playing in Santa Clara County because clearly football players cannot operate in this COVID-19 atmosphere there, but they can operate just a few hundred miles down the road in Phoenix, Arizona. So looking at this game, or Glendale as we would call it, Buffalo and San Francisco, Josh Allen coming to town. Been there before. They don't have too many good happy memories losing on a Hail Mary to DeAndre Hopkins. Do they get back right in this game? Or are we going to go with those road warriors here now, the San Francisco 49ers?
Nope, definitely traumatizing for the Bills, but I still like them. I know y'all are both on the Niners here, and they're getting a lot of their weapons back. But I like Josh Allen in this one. 49ers secondary struggled against mobile quarterbacks, and Bills need to prove himself in that stadium. That was embarrassing. So.
And Kyle, were you there to witness that Hail Mary as well?
I wasn't at that one. No. No. I was at work. No, I saw it, but I was not at that one.
Holding the net for Zane Gonzalez while he was practicing his kicks. Damn it. I'm just kidding.
This is endless fodder for the rest of the shows here. So we'll go Saints minus. We're going to wrap up Kelsey's picks here. Saints -3, Titans -5.5, Rams, Cardinals under 49, the Patriots -1, Seattle -7.5, which is awesome. And I hope Danny Dimes plays in that game because I'll be all over that pick with you as well, Kelsey. And the Buffalo Bills at the -2.5 number. Now I actually agree with that Buffalo. I mean, it's a little bit lower now, -1s, but you're still going to have to win the game essentially to get to cover anyway in that one. I trust Josh Allen more than I do Nick Mullins, so I do lean towards that direction as well. But hopefully we get some winning picks this weekend. We got a lot of stuff to talk over because you guys know we come on here Tuesday, Thursday, and then wrap it back up on Sunday and then flip it right back over for our Monday Night Football betting party, which will be that Buffalo Bills San Francisco 49ers game. Any last words here this week, Kyle? Under the weather, fought through it. Do we have any one-liners left?
Do I have any one-liners left? Well, it seems like they turned off the leaf blower, but I think the one-liner for the week is DTBK. Dump that bad kicker. Let's go Rams. Let's cover that game. I like them quite a bit this week, and now we know when Zane Gonzalez goes out because Kelsey always takes my advice. He's going to be a heartbroken Zane Gonzalez. No. And he's going to miss kicks this week. Go Rams.
How about that, Kel? What do you got to say about that, Kelsey?
Well, truth be told, I told him to miss so I could get my shot in the NFL.
There you go.
Right. We're going to have you kicking off little squib kicks. Boom! It'll be a true hero story. You'll kick it 5 yards, and there you go. Actually, I believe you could kick it further than she kicked it. A horrible kick.
Or maybe Kelsey can go in and give a halftime speech to the Arizona Cardinals, just like the Vanderbilt kicker did as well. So.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be ready to go on that one. Well, that'll wrap it up here for our show. Nice 1 hour and 15 minutes. Caught up with Kelsey. It was nice to have her back on the show this week. So certainly be back next week as well for all our Pick 6 content. If you missed out, there is a link below, www.sbrpicks.com/NFL for all your NFL needs designed to make you a better gambler. 75,400 people have subscribed to our channel here at sportsbookreview.com on YouTube. We do thank you for that. Turn those notification bells on. Thank you for spending your Thursday afternoon watching us and talking NFL football. We will be back, both myself and Kyle, on Sunday afternoon, 12 p.m. Eastern time to get you ready for those 1 o'clock kickoffs on our closing line show. I'm Donnie Seymour. She's Kelsey Kramer. He's Kyle Purviance. We are sportsbookreview.com, and this was your NFL show for Thursday. Good luck on your wagers, guys.